So, excuse me, I'm going to be not really looking at the webcam. I'm reading off my laptop here as we talk about Cuphead and all that that entails. So, Dean Takahashi of VentureBeat stepped into a bit of an internet hornet's nest with a preview of Cuphead he published 2 weeks ago now. It's not even new. The title, Cuphead Hands-On, My 26 Minutes of Shame with an Old-Time Cartoon Game, and the video preview image at the top of it says, Cuphead gameplay, Dean embarrasses himself for 26 minutes. And the article in question is extremely self-aware of the lack of skills on display. It also reads more like a fact sheet than anything tangible. Is it fun kind of reasoning? Which is understandable since he couldn't get past the first level. This brought back the Polygon Doom discussion from last year, and if games journalists are all terrible at games. That's a silly argument. Some are great, some are bad, most are average, just like gamers as a whole. I wouldn't expect Dean to review Cuphead, and he won't be. In the same way, I wouldn't expect someone who's bad at racing games to review Forza 7. But an unskilled player's opinion? That's fine. Opinions can never be wrong, but skill should be noted, especially when it comes to video games. Gaming is the only art or medium that can prevent a person from continuing to enjoy it and experiencing the full work. A poem won't lock away the third stanza because you missed the hidden meaning in the second. A painting doesn't obscure its subject because you didn't appreciate its color composition. A book won't have a difficult passage followed by a reading comprehension test to unlock the next chapter. A movie doesn't hide bonus scenes only for people who happen to notice the secret bad guy from the start. But video games do just that. In fact, it is so common for games to have content locked away behind skill and or time-based challenges. Collecting all the stars in every world to unlock bonus levels, collecting 3 random items and beating an additional optional boss to see the full ending, grinding for 50 hours just to get the best gear to spend 3 more hours in a raid for the chance at an ultra rare exclusive weapon drop. Games do this all the time and we seem to enjoy it that way. But if that is a necessity, is something to think about, but it's not really what's going on here. It's beside the point. The gameplay on display in this Cuphead video is pretty damn shameful. Getting stuck in the tutorial for 5 minutes is absurd. He is still in the tutorial, and I've talked about this for 3 minutes now. Even if Dean was on VentureBeat's Games Beat Decides podcast to discuss this and he said he was messing around, I think it's clear he wasn't really messing around, and the text of the article goes into getting stuck in the tutorial, but doesn't mention messing around either. Also, as another aside, podcast people, can you guys point your webcams at your faces? Alright, can you do an audio test to make sure Dean isn't 20 decibels lower than anyone else and sometimes cuts out when he looks away? Hell, I don't get paid anything to do what I'm doing right now, but you can see how it would make people angry when so-called professionals can't get these basic things right. Anyway, there are a lot of excuses and reasons given by both sides, and I want to address some of them. The excuse that games aren't final, that it's weird to jump into a demo, etc., is somewhat valid. Every game has a different control scheme. You might not be able to hear the game because of the crowd noise. Maybe you're talking to a developer while playing. But I've gone to E3 3 times. This Cuphead experience is not only completely foreign to me, I imagine it is to most gamers as well. Should games journalists have to be good to talk about games? No. It's that simple, no. To review games, maybe, and the reviewer's familiarity with the genre should be mentioned. Almost every time I talk about a Souls-like, I bring up that I've beaten all of them and have the platinum in Bloodborne. That makes my opinion different than someone who's never played any of them or gave up at the second boss. It doesn't make my opinion better. The opinions are for different people. If you like the Souls games, my thoughts on Neo will be more relevant to you. If you tried Dark Souls and hated it, a noob of the series talking about Neo might be of more interest to you. And honestly, I can understand where the anger is coming from. There's a small but sometimes vocal subset of gamers that apparently I am, I guess, kind of, in some way, a part of. I remember watching footage of Dark Souls 1 from E3. I don't know if it was journalists playing it or just random people on the floor, but seeing these people not locking on for minutes at a time, rolling into attacks off cliffs constantly, I'm still a little bit mad about it. And it's not that hard. Just don't be a moron, please. So I get it. I get being mad. People like to insult players that are bad at Souls games by telling them to get good, and that's stupid and reductive. But honestly, I've watched preview footage of all the Souls games. I remember reading countless reviews of Neo earlier this year, discussing its harsh and punishing difficulty, and all I have to say is, yeah, maybe there is something to that saying sometimes. You need to get good, people. I've seen Outlet X and Outlet Y play the first hour of Dark Souls 3, and it's kind of bad. But then again, I'm a little hardcore about the series. The average gamer is probably closer to what is on display in those previews. And I'm not immune to being downright bad at games. I'm not that great at shooters, really at all. Recently I tried Vanquish, and it made so little sense to me I got a Steam refund on it. I'm still confused as to how people play the game correctly. But again, that's not the same as the Cuphead gameplay. There's another issue with it, and I brought up a similar thing with the Polygon Doom video from last year. Why put this up at all? At first, I thought I'd be mad if I was the developers because, it's not putting it in a good light, but I don't really think they care. Honestly, I'm probably going to pick up Cuphead on release now, and I wasn't before. So again, why upload such a lame gameplay video? The idea of a preview is what to expect from typical gameplay. This is not really typical. The podcast reveals that they all knew the gameplay was almost unusable, but they thought it would be a funny video. And it is. Kind of. Perhaps cut out the embarrassing tutorial part then, or make a 5-minute highlight reel, or have a running commentary track during the gameplay, even if it was recorded afterwards. Then, at least people watching would have some idea of what poor Dean was thinking at the time. To not know people would get upset by this gameplay seems clueless, if not ignorant. In a post from this morning even, Dean admits that he didn't expect this outcome and should have been more aware. I'm not a big fan of conspiracy theories, but I want to address this one as well. It almost looks like putting up a super bad gameplay video is on purpose to draw attention. VentureBeat isn't exactly GameSpot or IGN and could actually gain new readers from all this, but what do I know? It's probably not the case. I wouldn't really think so, but it is something to ponder. Right, Zoolander? Go ponder that. You may not need to be good at games to talk about them. Just look at my subpar skills on many things, but I think some level of gaming literacy should be expected, especially when reviews are concerned. And certainly, I don't condone people hating on Dean. That's childish, and it misses the entire point of what's going on. To his credit, in that article I mentioned earlier, Dean wrote an apology of sorts and addressed many concerns. The bulk of what he wrote goes into all the hate he is still currently getting about this gameplay, people suggesting he should be fired for this, and so on. It's lunacy. No. That's not helpful at all. Games should be played for enjoyment, just like all other artistic avenues. Skill has a unique role in that when it comes to games, but it isn't the be-all, end-all. This conversation isn't going to end anytime soon, and I think that's okay. We should all expect a relatively young medium like gaming to have bumps in the road like this, but regardless of how you feel about it, we need to actually talk to each other instead of yelling nonsense and not listening to what the other side is trying to say. Like adults. Right now, a lot of gamers are struggling with that very term, gamers. For years, gamer meant something different, but now pretty much everyone plays games and is therefore a gamer. What gamer means to these people, and to me, is closer to gaming aficionado, or more simply, a hardcore gamer. And that's the distinction. Games journalists don't have to be hardcore, they just have to be gamers. That's pretty much everyone now. And again, that's perfectly okay. Hardcore or not, there's going to be gaming content for you. The stuff you don't like, the game previews from a noob who barely can jump off a ledge. It has every right to exist as well. Now I'll go and turn on the chat and see what you're saying, because I see you're talking in here. Yeah, it's totally yeah, okay. Not disagreement. I'm gonna take that. Sometimes I like to do little thought pieces like this. It's fun. The game, to its credit, has always had this really cool look to it, and it used to just be a boss fight game, and they added in these things. I'm willing to bet it is supposed to be really difficult anyway, so you can expect dying. But some of it's like when you get hit by the same guy like 7 times, it's a little goofy. All right, let's get into the topics of the week, including everybody's golf, but not just yet. No golf yet.